Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Hands on SAP Dev live stream with me, Q Macro DJ. It's Friday morning, 29th of February. What's an exciting day. Yes, so great to have you on board today. What's going on? What am I doing? I've got some coffee. I've got some chocolate as well. I thought I'd treat myself to. I thought I've just installed in the background on that little thing over there, C Matrix, because I thought that was quite cool to have in the background. It might be a little bit distracting. If it's distracting, let me know. Good morning to the live chat people. What's going on here? Why can't I see the, let me just make that a little bit bigger again. Live chat. Is the live chat working? By the way, pop out, shall we pop out the chat? There we are. Good morning. That's why I can't see it. Let me just pop that back in again. How do I pop that back in? Don't know. Howdy, good morning. Okay, I can see the chat down here then. I'll move that. In fact, I can move that back up there, and I can get rid of. Thank you, Andrew, for letting other people know as well, and all the people for retweeting and everything. I'll get rid of that tweet deck now. Brilliant, brilliant. Hello, regulars. Yes, Andrew. Hello, Helmut. Hello, Robertino. Hello, Leo, Jorge, Pierre, Manuel. That's fantastic. What's that little arrow mean there? I don't know. Right, brilliant. Welcome to live chat and welcome to Hands on SAP Dev. Got some coffee, yes. Brilliant. So what are we going to cover today? Well, we're going to cover some workflow stuff. I've been, as we know, the last couple of morning Freddie and morning Mahesh and morning Christian and morning Volker. Morgan, I like your Morgan, Volker. Very good, very good. Reminds me of old times. Yeah, we had the last couple of episodes. We looked at our little Hands on SAP Dev API, which I've not forgotten. Now I do want to come back to that and carry on, but I thought rather than I don't know. Let me know in the chat. Good morning, Ronnie. Let me know in the chat. Whether you have any strong preference towards a consistent sort of episodes, this n+1, n+2, n+3, n+4 and so on a certain topic, or whether you like it to be mixed up a little bit like we're doing right now. I'm trying to mix it up a little bit and to cover something that's it's actually been on my mind for a while, and I'll tell you why shortly. That's workflow on Cloud Foundry. Okay, so that's what we're going to look at today. When I tweeted that, actually, Ronnie, you seemed quite pleased with that. Is that something you're starting to look at? Let me know. Let me know. Anyway, let me move to the where are we? Let me move to the main scene. And I did like this, the Google Doodle today, showing a beautiful illustration from Alice in Wonderland, and it's basically representing Sir John Tenniel. I think that's how you pronounce it, Sir John Tenniel or John Tenniel's 200th birthday. So that's a nice round number. It's on a nice date, 29th of February. And I did have a quick look, and basically it was an illustrator. In the sort of late 19th, early 20th century, and of course illustrated Alice in Wonderland. And I just clicked through, this is nothing to do with Hands on SAP Dev technical stuff, but I did click through and I saw this beautiful oil painting by John Tenniel, A Conspiracy. And it reminded me, I don't know how many other people have seen this, it reminded me of a really nice Tumblr blog called Classic Programmer Paintings, where people sort of take paintings like this, and put a little alternative title to it, relating to programming and DevOps and so on. So if you're not aware of that, I thought I'd share that with you today. It's quite nice. So you'll see what I mean when I show you this classic programmer paintings. There we go. Painters and hackers, nothing in common whatsoever, but this is software engineering as depicted by artists through history. So here we go. There's a classic example, Red Hat Enterprise Linux sysadmins entering the Docker convention floor. I'm going to scroll through quickly and have a quick look at, oh, this is a classic, right? Richard Stallman introducing GNU in 1983, according to Richard Stallman. Or, for example, staff developer and the laughing project manager. It's great, it's sort of quite nice, delivering a feature in the time of a code freeze. What else is there? Oh yes, team lead learns that the project will be shut down. I quite like that. I think I submitted a couple of these to the Tumblr site. I can't remember what they were, but yeah, it's quite a nice little sort of fun thing. I'll just paste that in the link there down below. Ronnie, okay, so you're trying to find time to get into it. Workflow is such a powerful tool for process enhancements, business process, that is. Yes, Andrew, yeah, it is fantastic, isn't it? I really like it. I wonder, I'll see if I can find, get rid of this cookie thing. I'll see if I can find my my contributions after the live stream finishes. Have a look at that. Sort of a nice mixture of things. Anyway. The only other thing I wanted to share was I think I just, oh, that's not right, is it? Recap? Was it Recap Conf? Sorry, yes, Recap Conf. I think, yes, basically, today is the last day, and it closes at 1400 hours Central European time. It's the last day for both registration and the call for papers. So get your registration in there, get your session submission in there. Very, very important. Awesome stickers, by the way, designed by Mr. Christian Braukmuller himself. And those have just arrived as well in Christian's place. So we're looking forward to sort of being able to distribute those at the conference. So there we go. It's 8:07. I'm going to get started. So Ronnie, yes. So was it specifically? I mean, oh, good morning, Max. I didn't see you there. Good morning. Good morning. I'm not sure whether your excitement for this episode, Ronnie, was relating to the fact that it was on Cloud Foundry or relating to the fact that it was workflow in general. Of course, we know that workflow has been available for a while, or workflow service facilities on the Neo environment. Is it in the Neo environment or on the Neo environment? On the Neo platform, in the Neo environment, on SAP Cloud Platform for a while. And it's now been available for a fairly short time on Cloud Foundry. And so, of course, it's intriguing to have a look at that and get to grips with it. Oh, good morning, Greg. Greg, good morning. Good morning. Will the recap stream? I don't know. I think we're planning to stream the recap, but Volker is on the chat as well. I'm sure Volker can answer better than I can. Okay, so you're interested in Cloud Foundry and workflow in general. Perfect. The workflow service. I really like the workflow service. We've covered some of the workflow service before in previous live streams. So there's stuff there. I think I did a workflow live stream when I was doing a code jam. I think Robert Dino, I was there. Where was I? I can't remember. Was it in Eindhoven? I can't remember. Done so many. Anyway, I'm getting old. Yes, we're going to try and live stream all sessions. Thank you for answering, Volker. So let me start by showing us, getting us all to have a look at where we want to end up at on this little journey that we're about to take. And we might not finish it all today, but I think this because there's a lot to unpack workflow on Cloud Foundry. Not that it's super complex. I mean, it's more complex than it is with Neo. But that's because, of course, we're moving, and these are my words, we're moving from something that is bundled up for you, maybe a little bit more monolithic compared to what we have in Cloud Foundry, which is a lot of services working together in harmony. And so there's more moving parts that we are exposed to. I think that's the best best way. Oh yes, of course it was. Yes, I remember. It was innovation, and there was what was the other company called beginning with Q? Not Qubit. I don't know. Oh, my brain's not working. I need some more coffee. I apologize. I was very well looked after by Robert and Wim and so on. Fantastic. Okay, yes, great. It is great news for travel impaired, and also, for those time zone impaired people. Is that a thing? Anyway, let me stop here and let's go to the Cloud Platform cockpit. So I think the cool thing to do maybe is to have a brief look, actually 2 minutes, at what I've got from the past from a workflow perspective in my Neo environment. Okay, so this is the Cloud Platform trial sort of landing page, and down here at the bottom you can still access Neo trial. So I'm going to go in there and show you where we want to, get to with workflow on Cloud Foundry. So there, I've got my services list here, which I'm sure we're all familiar with, and we've covered this before. I'm going to scroll down rather than search for it. There's the workflow service, and this is something I've previously configured. I have a chunk of chocolate now. Matrix is still working away there in the background. That, by the way, is the a very old ISO L365 monitor that I bought in Germany, and it's so old that when I bought it, it cost 465 Deutschmarks. That's how old it is, and it's still as good as new. It's fantastic. And it's my little editing station. When I want to break from here, I go over there. There's no mouse, it's just a terminal. And I SSH into this machine here, or the container on this VM on this Chrome OS box, and carry on editing with tmux and Vim and everything. It's wonderful. Anyway, okay, Freddie, have a great day at school. Work hard. Bye, Freddie. And I'll see you on the weekend. In fact, I'll see you tomorrow when I beat you at go-karting again. Yes. That's not what uncles are supposed to say, is it? Anyway. So this is, I think, something we're familiar with, which is the standard workflow tiles. We've got the My Inbox, which is, of course, where I can access tasks that I've been assigned to or have been assigned to me in the sort of workflow with user tasks. And this pair of tiles here is basically two views or two ways into the same rather beautifully written UI5 Fiori application. The monitor application. So monitor workflow definitions and monitor workflow instances. I've said in the past, and I'll say it again, if you want an example of how to approach writing something that has different views, different angles, different personalities, but it's sort of intermingled as well, this is a great example. I love the way they've written this. It's on, DJ. It is on, Freddie. Yes. Okay, so here's an example of some workflow definitions, and we can, for example, start a new instance of workflow one. I have no idea what workflow one is, but I will come back to that, actually. I think of this idea this morning. Start an instance. Let's show the instances. Let's just refresh this. What's going on here? Or did it? Oh, there we go. There, it's running. Yep, there we go. Erroneous running. I have no idea what this instance does. Retrieve product data. These are things from a long time ago that I defined. Okay, and I'll come back to that sort of concept later. Anyway, so that's where we want to get to. Okay, but on Cloud Foundry. So yes, Greg, nicely pointed out. DMBTR is still in BSEG. Speaking of Deutschmarks. So can anybody say? I mean, Greg. Don't put it if you know already, but can anybody say in the chat what DMBTR stands for? Maybe not our HandsOnSAPDev friends in Germany, but yes, yes, I do. I will check actually. Yeah, I've got it in my account, but I think there's no. So Volker is asking about BizApp Studio, which I've got up here, but this is, as you can see, maybe this is what triggered. But I'm using there at the moment. I'm using like an internal sort of canary thing. However, I think Ronnie, you had a conversation with Karen on Twitter yesterday, didn't you? Where the trial has ended, and I think it's March, as in tomorrow or Monday, I don't know, 2nd of March, that the BizApp Studio, Business Application Studio, will be available in trial. So I think that's what it is. Thanks, Ronnie. Yes. So yeah, a little bit of a hiatus between while trial has been sort of in the pre-GA stage, but it should be available as of Monday next week. So look out for that. And in fact, we may look at workflow on the App Studio another time. Anyway. So that's where we want to get to. But instead, let's try and get to that. Yes, Volker, no comment. Let's try to get to that through Cloud Foundry. Okay. What I've done, just to save a little bit of time, I didn't want to do too many things in advance, but I've got my Cloud Foundry organization set up and connected to my sub account. This is a regular trial sub account. It's in EU10, which is the AWS hyperscaler in Frankfurt, and I've got a dev space. So this is basically a completely fresh setup. So you get your dev space and you get your trial organization connected. And all I've done so far is I've created an instance of the workflow service. Okay, in the same sort of way that you would enable the service on Neo, I've created an instance of the workflow service. How did I do that? Well, I went to the service marketplace, which is almost like the equivalent of the services list we saw just before on Neo. And I found the workflow service, workflow, there we go, there. And the way that you sort of enable, let's use the Neo term for now, the way that you enable a service is you create an instance of it. This is Cloud Foundry after all. And one of the fundamental concepts of Cloud Foundry is that you have applications and you have services, but in order to actually make use of a service, you create an instance of that service. And also an application may want to partake of that service instance. So there's bindings between applications and service instances, okay? So here's the overview of the workflow service. There are service plans available, production style service plans, but also in trial, there are trial style service plans. And there's a service plan available to us all on trial, which is called Lite. I'm sure there are some restrictions somewhere. I don't know what the restrictions are, to be honest. But I've not hit any restrictions myself in all the messing around I've been doing. But as you can see over here, we've got this instances menu item, and that. Let me just move over here a second. Yeah, that. That's more distracting. That. Is where I use new instance to create a new instance. Is a little bit of a wizard, but you don't have to specify anything apart from the name of the instance. Okay, and that will be important shortly. So I chose, naming is hard, right? I chose for the name of the instance the name workflow. Okay, why not? Okay, so that's the workflow instance that's been created. So if I go back now to my dev space and look at the service instances, that's why we see in there a service instance called workflow of the service workflow, the workflow service in the marketplace, with the Lite plan. There are no applications referenced, as in there's no service bindings between applications and so on. So that's so far so good. Okay. Oh, lots of chat. Here we go. Yes, it's not available. Yes, it appears. Thank you for checking as well. Not available in the trial account yet. Should be next week. Good morning, Douglas. Yes, Christian, I do like the DMBTR field name. Bonus question in the exams. Does anybody know what the DMBTR stands for? Deutschmark Betrag. Deutschmark amount. as in local currency amount, I guess, you know, that sort of thing. But there are some beautiful, I mean, maybe we'll sort of have a poll of, you know, what our favorite 5-character SAP field name is. You know, I do like these 5-character fields, all these long, super long field names that are really descriptive. I don't like those. You know, give me the 5-character ones every time. Thank you very much. Okay, that was a good guess, Andrew. That was a good guess. Betrag, yes. Deutschmark, Beleg, Transaction, but no, yes, Betrag. Very good, very good, very good, very good. Okay, so so that is all I've done. Well, in fact, what I've also done not at the space level, but at the organization level, the sub-account organization level, is I've also created a role collection. Okay, so in order to create a role collection with roles that are related to workflow, I had to create the workflow service, okay, the service instance. So that's the part of the reason why I did it in this order. So I created the workflow instance, and then I've gone into here, I created a role collection, which is, I've also called it workflow. Why not? You know, call everything the same. And if we have a look in that workflow role collection, we've got a number of roles. Workflow admin, developer, initiator, participant, and viewer. Okay, it's a similar sort of thing. You know, you assign yourself to the equivalent roles in Neo. This is what you do here. And the application identifier refers effectively to that sort of workflow instance, and you know, you get it in a dialog pop-up choice. So it's very easy to do. And then the final thing that I've done is I've gone in also within the security area here. I've gone into trust configuration. And again, this is completely default. This is all set up for you when you set up your trial account. I've gone into the only trust identity provider that I've got here, which is the SAP ID service. And I entered my email address, which was associated with this trial account, and assigned that new role collection. Okay, so all I've done so far is create an instance of the workflow service and created a role collection with all those roles in it. Okay, there are more workflow roles than you saw there, the list of 5, but those are the ones that you would normally need. So you can, you know, administer, you can develop, you can instantiate workflow instances of a workflow definition and so on, and you can also be a participant. You can receive workflow user tasks and so on. So in order to do that sort of thing, you know, yourself in a trial account, so you were there in the trial account, you know, it's good to give yourself all those. Okay, Robert, have a great Friday. It's great to see you. Thanks for popping in. That's really good. And see you next time, definitely. So I've done that as well. Okay, so far so good. You know, assign role collection, and at the moment there's no other role collections that I've got that I haven't assigned to myself. I've assigned business rules as well. So the next question is, well, how do we get, you know, what's the next step we need to take to get to that nice 3-tile display where we have the My Inbox and the monitor workflow definitions and the monitor workflow instances? Well, instead of having it all done for you in a sort of black box somewhere, Neo, for some reason, spatially in my brain, Neo is over there. I don't know why, outside. Maybe in the cloud, I don't know. Instead of doing that, having that done for you, you sort of have to, at least at this stage, build everything yourself. But it's quite straightforward. And for the purposes of the way I like to run these hands-on SAP Dev sessions with you all, it's quite educational. You know, it forces you to think about things that you might not otherwise think about. So I'm going to go back to the trial organization and look at the spaces, and we can see that this space is pretty empty. There's only one service. There's no applications started or stopped. There's no applications. There's one service, and that's that service instance. There's no applications here. So what we're going to do, yes, Neo is in the board, which is over there. Yes. So maybe that's what it is. You know, I'm thinking, oh yeah, just like Mecca, the mothership over there. Nicely pointed out, Ronnie. So we can do this with a sample project that is set up for you that you can get access to in the SAP Web IDE. Now we've been talking about the oh, nicely put, Andrew. Nicely done. See what we did there. We're talking about the Application Studio, which of course will be available next week. But I'm going to use the Web IDE for now. That's going to be available, for a while yet. I don't know how long, but it'll serve our purpose at least for today. So I'm going to go into the Web IDE because that's where this workflow tools setup project is. Okay, I want to show you that, and that will take us through a really interesting sort of flow. I've got one there that I've just done before, well, last week, whenever it was, but I'll close that away. I'm going to start from scratch. I put everything in my sideboard. I start from scratch. And I'm going to go here to File, New, Project from Sample Application. How many people do that? I mean, I used to do that when the Web IDE was first around, and there was these interesting sample applications, but I'd never have thought of going into it. However, there is this thing. Workflow applications on SAP Fiori Launchpad for Cloud Foundry brackets trial. Now, in fact, I could favor that, couldn't I? What happened there? Where's it gone? There. Now that is a bit of a mouthful, but actually it's super interesting. So I'm just going to accept the agreement here and bring it into my workspace. There we go. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat down here. Lovely, isn't it? What's lovely, Ronnie? The little play on words from Andrew. I think that was very nice. Yes. Very good. Very good. So we have this project now called sample.workflowtiles.mta.trial. I mean, this name sort of tells us a lot anyway, right? Sample because it's from the application samples. Workflow tiles. Okay, so it's to do with the tiles for workflow tiles, Fiori Launchpad tiles. It's a multi-target application and it's to do with trial, right? So let's have a look what's inside. We've got the Shay folder here, directory. Why did I say folder? Directory. It's obviously related to Web IDE itself, so we'll ignore that for now. I do like to have show hidden files on because I just want to make sure I can see everything. We've got two directories here: Workflow Tiles App Router and Workflow Tiles FLP. Okay, we'll come back to those. And we've got an MTA YAML, which we'll have a look into in a second. And we've got this excess security as well. And that's it. Okay. If we have a look inside of Workflow Tiles App Router, we've got this Shay. We'll ignore this Shay directory. We've got git ignore, we've got package.json, and XSApp.json. And that's it. Okay. And it turns out that, as the name suggests, this folder here within this multi-target application project, this little folder here, provides effectively a way in to the portal service application. Okay. Now, how does it do that? Well, anybody who has been, for example, reading my colleague Marius Obet's Cloud Foundry fun series of blog posts, which is awesome, that will know, for example, about the app router. And the app router is effectively the way and the entry point to Cloud Foundry applications. That's the way it's done on Cloud Foundry on SAP Cloud Platform. As you can see here, it's a node module in the SAP namespace. Volker, see you later. And yeah, don't forget, folks, call for papers and registration for recap is ending today at 2 p.m. European time. Western European time, I guess. Works, Colin? Okay, bye. So this is the way in. Okay, so we've got this sort of app router, and the configuration for the app router is this thing here, which is super simple. Normally you'll have in an app router configuration a number of routes. Okay, and that list of routes will be used by the app router to direct the incoming traffic, the web traffic from a browser, for example, from a user, to the right place to, for example, an HTML5 repository to bring up artifacts like, HTML5 artifacts like JavaScript and HTML and CSS and UI5 and all that sort of stuff, or to a backend service, for example, if that's an OData service being consumed or whatever, okay? However, here, all we're doing is saying, well, just go to this location here, which is /cp.portal, okay, which, in the app router itself doesn't exist, but that will exist as a side effect of what we're going to look at next, okay? So anyway, just leave that there for now. So that's all we have in the app router, okay? So it'll run on node 8 or node 10 or above, and this single dependency, that's it, super simple, okay? The workflow tiles FLP is a little bit more interesting. I mean, not that the app router is not interesting, but it's a little bit more involved, let's say. There's a README here, which you can read later. It's actually definitely worth having a look at. It's in Markdown, so it's great. We can read it sort of whether it's rendered or not. But we're not going to read that together now. Instead, we're just going to sort of fumble our way through and work out what things are just by sort of inferring, because that's, I think that's a nice way to learn as well. That's a nice way to learn by not reading the manual. Yeah, okay, maybe I did say that, I don't know. But the thing is, okay, good morning, Phil. Good evening to you, sir, as well. Don't worry about being late to the party. That's also, yeah, we're all well, thank you. I hope you're well too. Leo, hi Leo, yes. Interesting to see there are more sample apps. You only know the standard 3, just enable the workflow editor to see these new ones. Yes, exactly. So in the, thanks for pointing that out actually, in the workflow editor, if I go to preferences, for example, this is what you'll need to do as well. I'm sure people know about this already. There's an extension called Workflow Editor, which I've enabled as well. And I've also, in my Cloud Foundry preferences, I think I've already specified an endpoint to use. So that's my endpoint, that's my Cloud Foundry trial account on EU10, AWS in Frankfurt. And I want to use this organization, the one we just looked at, which is this one here. And I want to use the dev space. So that's all fine. That's what I've done there as well. Thank you, Leo, for pointing that out. Let's go back to the editor perspective. The really interesting thing about this is that while this is a workflow project, look at least, this is not normative, okay, to use a word from the OData standards. It's not, doesn't say anything definitively, but it gives us a clue as to what this is and where it's come from. It's come from the portal team. This is a workflow project. Why does this come from the portal team? Because, of course, in order to get the tiles, you need a Fiori Launchpad site. And the Fiori Launchpad sites are enabled by, provided by, supported by the portal service. And this thing here is a really strange looking module name that's a dependency requirement. It's in the SAP namespace again. Portal Cloud Foundry Content Deployer. Okay, so that gives us a clue that, okay, well, when this runs, okay, when the deployment process kicks off this particular module here, it'll run the npm start, which will call node -- harmony. I didn't know what that was. I looked that up. Of course, harmony is related to the different language levels of ECMAScript or JavaScript. So basically, -- harmony means, in layman's terms, layperson's terms, use ES6 and that sort of stuff. Support that stuff. So we can sort of ignore what harmony means for now, because we're all ES6 people, right? It runs this portal CF content deployer. Okay, so we'll sort of suspend our imagination for now. What's I'm looking for, the phrase I'm looking for? We'll sort of leave it there for now. I just like sort of having clues as to what might be going on. Okay. And if we look in here, we've got this extra super interesting looking portal site directory, which again tells us portal site. This is stuff for the portal site. And there's a single file in here. I mean, there's internationalization as well. Which, okay, I've learned that we can sort of ignore internationalization for the purposes of understanding generally what's going on. I mean, we know roughly what's going to go on with internationalization. It's going to provide sort of multiple different language packs properties for different things, right? So let's ignore the I18N directory for now and just have a look at the common data model. And magically, the Web IDE has a built-in sort of custom support for that behind the scenes, in the same way that it's got built-in support for MTA files, which we'll look at shortly. Behind the scenes, it's just a bit of JSON. Okay, we'll have a look at this detail a little bit later, but basically, if you have a look at this, you can see there's some catalog information in here, there's some group information in here, there's within the group, there's information about 3 things. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 3 sort of stanzas, 3 records in this array here. In the visualization, I'm guessing that is, okay. com.sap.bpm.monitor workflow, com.sap.bpm.monitor workflow, and cross.fnd.fiori.inbox. Those sound very much like they could relate to directly, one-on-one, the 3 tiles that we want on our FLP site. And in fact, they are, okay? And I did mention before that, you know, the Workflow Monitor app is a beautifully written app. And as you can see, it supports a sort of displaying of the definitions and displaying of the instances. And the way these sort of 2 interlink is beautiful. And you can see it's basically the ID is the same. It's the same program. It's the same HTML5 app with UI5. So again, we'll go back to Launchpad Editor and see that sort of, you know, visually. Okay, com.sap.bpm.monitor workflow, the same thing there, and the Fiori inbox. Okay, so this looks like content that, you know, given what the package.json is showing us, content definition that will be deployed to some portal site somewhere, right? Okay. And if you remember, how many folks here have set up a portal FLP site on the portal service on Neo? It's basically there's a graphical UI that you can go into this sort of admin panel. You can set up a new site. I'll say it's type Fiori Launchpad, and you go into a catalog and you bring in these tiles and you put them in there. This is effectively the equivalent of that. So, okay, again, we'll stop sort of thinking there and dive into the next bit. So we're dipping our toe a little bit into each of these different things to understand what's going on, because in one sense, I suppose, you know, all you want to do is download this app into your Web IDE and bang, deploy it, and you've got your you know, your workflow administration tiles there ready, and you can carry on with workflow. That's fine, but why not enjoy the journey and have a look to see how things work? Because, at least in my opinion, all this stuff that we're looking at right now is super useful to understand, because, you know, as developers moving towards the Cloud Foundry environment and doing things there, this is all really interesting and important to understand and to know about, right? You know, how these things are done. Anyway, that's my excuse. Finally, well, not finally, penultimately, but most importantly, maybe we're going to look in the MTA YAML file. So as we know, Cloud Foundry, you know, is for us a really nice way to get close to this sort of microservice-based architecture. You know, for those of you who've read the 12-factor app manifesto or description, they're definitely worth reading there. In fact, what's it called? 12-factor something, the 12-factor app. If you've not read that, or at least stared at it a little bit, it's definitely worth reading. And Cloud Foundry sort of gives us the ability to sort of think in those terms and act and do and develop in those terms. Oh, lots of chat again. Amazing. What's going on here? So, Christian, now that it's getting interesting, you go. Well, you know, what can I say? What can I say? But you can watch the recording, of course. It's Friday, could be worse. To give it to you as possible. How are you? You're putting SAP Cloud Platform portal on your to-do list. It's not already on there, Ronnie. Come on. So Gregor, the interesting thing is that this CDM, content delivery mechanism, is that what that refers to here, seems to also be used by the backend systems to provide information to the central endpoint. Yes. So super good observation there from Gregor. We see this content deployment mechanism in lots of different places, which is the reason why I'm allowing myself to dwell on it a little bit here, because we'll see it again in other things in future live streams, I'm sure. Okay, I've not got anything planned, but you know, these are all sort of made up on the spur of the moment. But it's definitely something we will see again for sure. Sorry, common data. Yes, yes, the common data model. Yes, exactly, the common data model here. Yes, but the content deployment mechanism is also something we'll see before. So yes, nice one, Gregor. So let's have a look in the MTA YAML, and notice that, you know, I'm resisting the urge right now to go into my terminal. I can see my terminal just below here. In fact, there it is. But I'm going to do all this in the Web IDE because why not? It's nice and colorful. We may go to the terminal later if we get time. So let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at this first of all, using again this sort of Web IDE provided MTA editor, which is like, you know, a comfortable graphical thing. I prefer actually to look at the YAML, much to my colleague and friend Max's disappointment. Sorry, Max. Especially now I've found a way to colorify YAML on the command line with BAT instead of CAT. I've used BAT before, but my other friend and colleague Vitaly reminded me there is BAT as well. But anyway, let's not go there. I was tempted to go and show you, but let's not go there. It's 8:41 already. An MTA generally is divided up into three sections. Okay, you've got the basic information. Okay, boring. You've got modules, which are basically the things that will be deployed and end up the applications. They'll end up basically here. And then you have the resources upon which the modules depend. Okay, so there's this relationship between modules and resources normally will, or very commonly will refer to instances of services. Okay, and the act of deploying something with an MTA content that describes these sorts of relationships will cause, amongst other things which I'll come to, will cause bindings to be brought into being between the modules, between the applications and those service instances. Okay, and as you can see, and I mentioned this before, now we're in the Cloud Foundry land. First of all, you know, the inner workings are more exposed to us as developers, which I think is great. But secondly, these inner workings are quite sort of separate and you know, small pieces joined together. Andrew, you're enjoying a 6.7 IPA already. Tell us what it is. Are you on Untapped, by the way? Let us know what it is. I'd be interesting. Is it a classic sort of West Coast IPA, Northeast IPA, or is it you know, a Pacific IPA? You know, sort of some amazing hops down there. I don't know. Can't remember where you are in down under, but some amazingly fresh tropical hops. But anyway, let's not get distracted. Thank you, Andrew, for making me jealous. So basically, these two modules here rely upon, if we look at the app router, for example, if you scroll down here, they require 1, 2, 3, there's four things. Workflow tile, and also the workflow tiles FLP relies upon 3 things. Okay, so 4 things there, you can see that little scroll bar, and 3 things there, you can see that little scroll bar's not there. Thanks, Phil, for making it even worse. You're seeing my red wine. Maybe I'll have a beer after this. Maybe I'll have a beer during, because, you know, I'm in the Australian time zone right now, theoretically. Anyway, I prefer to look at it in the flesh, in the raw, naked, because I think it makes a lot more sense. Okay, so these are the basic parts of the MTA YAML, and then we've got the modules and we've got the resources. Okay, so let's expand the modules bit by bit. We've got 2 modules in there. and we've got 4 resources. Okay, so if we have a look at this module here, the workflow tiles app router, that is of type. Okay, so the Cloud Foundry has a concept of a module type. That is an app router type. Okay, we'll sort of skip over that, the details of that for the purposes of demonstration right now. And where is that module? It's at the path workflow tiles app router, which is this directory here. Okay, parameters, yeah, boring, disk quota and memory. We'll just ignore those for now. But the important thing for us is that this app router module requires 4 services or 4 service instances. It requires this thing called workflow tiles HTML5 repo runtime. Reminds me of those awful long variable names. But anyway, we'll just leave that for now. It requires portal resources workflow tiles. It requires UAA workflow tiles. And it requires workflow tiles. Now, what the heck are all these 4 things? Well, just by the way, the workflow tiles FLP requires 3 of those 4. Okay, it doesn't require the HTML5 repo. Okay, so let's just close that back up again. Now, if we look down here, we've got those 4 names: workflow tiles HTML5 repo runtime, portal resources workflow tiles, and UAA workflow tiles, and workflow tiles. Now, there's a lot of words there, and it's it can be very sort of confusing or make you cross-eyed. So let's just take our time and have a look at what this actually means. If we have a look at the first thing here, basically this thing refers to this name here. Okay, and this is the name of a resource. Let's have a look what that resource is all about. Well, first of all, what type of resource is it? And this is a standard Cloud Foundry organization type. Okay, there are sort of SAP types as well as custom types, but they're standard types. And org.cloudfoundry.managed-service basically means that this is a service that effectively will be instantiated during the deployment process. Okay, so it's a service that may or may not exist already, or may not exist already. So this will cause an instance of that service to be instantiated. What service is going to be instantiated? Well, the HTML5 apps repo service. Let's go and have a look at the service marketplace. And come on, HTML, there we go. HTML5 apps repo service. Okay, so this is a service in the marketplace that's available to me in my trial account. And effectively what that means, if we have a look at that there, what that means is that an instance of that service will be created for us when we do this deployment. Now, when I showed you the workflow instance that I'd created, I said I chose the light plan, and that was the only plan that was available to us. But actually here, there's a couple of different plans. So which service plan is going to be used when this HTML5 apps repo service is instantiated? Well, if we have a look back in here, we've got that exact specification here. Obviously, otherwise it wouldn't work, right? App runtime. So that is going to instantiate an instance of the HTML5 application repository service with the app runtime plan. Okay, so this is basically in the same way. Who remembers when we were messing around with the workflow API or the business rules API in SAP API Hub? There is this concept. It's a classic concept of design time and runtime. And really here, we're not interested in putting any stuff into the application repository. Basically, the stuff where things are served from HTML5 wise. Remember, there is an equivalent of that in Neo as well. So this is basically where HTML5 application artifacts live. Okay, are written to and then are served from. We're not interested in this context in putting anything in there. We're interested in getting stuff out, serving stuff from, as in use this service plan to consume HTML5 applications stored already in the repository. Okay, so notice we're not actually putting anything into the HTML5 application repository. We're pulling things out that are already there. Okay, so Xylem and Flum. Ooh, wow. Okay, brilliant. I've not heard of them. Is that? I'm assuming that is an answer to the beer question. Yes, another dual-use three-letter acronym. Yes, I was thinking that as well, Gregor. And Max, yes, I think maybe when we talk about APIs, we should drink an IPA. I'm never going to let Max forget saying IPA when he meant to say API during a talk he was giving at SAP. Was it SAP Inside Track in Riga? An awesome event, by the way. Anyway, it's 8:50. Okay. Yeah, I am going to take my time. You know, we're not going to. Well, maybe we will. We may not get to the tiles here, but we can do this next week. Okay. Please let me know whether you like it or not, or whether you don't care. Put something in the chat to tell me whether this style and speed and detail is good or bad. Whether you prefer me to say bang, 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 and here it is, and let's build some workflows, or you're okay with taking our time over this. Please let me know in the chat. So that's that one there. Okay, so this is the workflow tiles HTML5 repo runtime. So basically, you can see there's a naming convention that the team inside of SAP, whoever's built this, have used. Workflow tiles is the generic name for this project. So okay, let's prefix everything with workflow tiles, and then we're gonna postfix or suffix the name of the resource with effectively a combination of the service and the service plan. Right? So this is what it is. So that's going to get created. Now, what else have we got? We've got portal resources workflow tiles. So the portal resources workflow tiles is something very similar. It's another managed service or Cloud Foundry managed service type, which basically means it will get instantiated. What service will get instantiated? The portal service. What service plan will be used when we're instantiating the portal service? The standard service plan, which is again available to us in trial, right? So we won't look at that now because it's going to be the same sort of thing. In a similar sort of way, we have UAA. Who knows what UAA stands for? User Authentication and Authorization, I guess. Yes, the UAA workflow tiles resource that is required by that both App Router and the other workflow tiles FLP depend upon is basically the security mechanism that is sort of standard used in Cloud Foundry applications and services and so on. Mahesh. Brilliant. Okay, thank you for the feedback, Phil and Jorge and Mahesh. Yeah, you know what, Mahesh, that's a really good point. Instead of learning blindly, we're getting to know how the stuff works. Yeah, and I don't know. Of course, I don't know anything. I'm an idiot, right? But with a little bit of curiosity, I think it makes it fun. But also, you can form theories and then try them out. Try those theories out in practice, and something doesn't work, and then you learn more things when something doesn't work, and you go, oh yeah, my understanding was slightly different, and whatever. So yeah, cool. Okay. Yeah, the basic plumbing. Yes, exactly. This is the basic plumbing. I'm a plumber at heart, right? So this is going to instantiate. The pattern is sort of repeating now. This is going to instantiate a managed service, Cloud Foundry. What service? XSUAA. What service plan? Application. And there's another parameter, a path. Okay. So now, let's go back and just have a look for that service. In fact, I always forget to use this sort of breadcrumby thing. This is quite a nice way to do this, right? Authorization and trust management. I happen to know that is the XSUAA service. Okay. Rather than go anywhere else, can I show you that it is XSUAA? No, but if you looked at the tiles, it says XSUAA at the bottom, right? This is the Authorization and Trust Management Service, and you can see there are even more service plans available for this. And what was the service plan used for the instantiation? The application service plan. So let's have a look what that means. Basically, it will allow authorization to happen. It will allow the authorization flow where I, as a user, am challenged by the back end, I'll get user ID and password field. That will then be authenticated. Yes, the password's correct. A token will be generated, passed back to the application. All that sort of stuff that we covered a little bit when we were doing the API calls in Cloud Foundry. We had to get this auth token and everything. We talked about different flows. We only looked at one flow, but maybe we'll look at the other flow where the client program is not trusted. Okay, we did a flow where the client program was trusted, so we give you a user ID and password to the client program. Anyway, I'm digressing. So we're going to use the application service plan when we instantiate the XS UAA, right? And when you instantiate this XS UAA, you need to tell it stuff. Okay, you need to give it a little bit of help as to what it should be doing on your behalf, because basically, again, this is all about sort of building services and applications and things from small pieces joined together, right? This is Cloud Foundry, this is microservices, 12-factor applications. So this XS UAA service is the thing that will be providing the authentication flow support. Okay, we'll maybe dig into that a little bit more on another live stream. But during the lifetime of an incoming request that's completely fresh, the service or the app router, first of all, will be asking the authentication service, oh, is this request authorized? No, give me some authorization. And it will hit the XS UAA service. The XS UAA service will go and send the user ID and password fields in a form to the user, give me the, all that stuff, right? So that, is responsible for the authentication flows, whereas the portal service is responsible for, providing the Fiori Launchpad site and all that stuff. And the HTML5 repo runtime service is responsible for providing, for serving, basically, it's quite a simple service for providing HTTP responses to requests for HTML5 artifacts, right? And the final service, one of the most important service, of course, is, we've almost forgotten, is the workflow service, right? So if we have a look here, where is it here? Workflow, the workflow service with a service plan of lights. Now we've already instantiated the workflow service, haven't we? I showed you that right at the start, okay? So we need to do something here to say, oh, don't try and create a new one because we've already got one. And also we've already got one and we gave it the name workflow, okay? Not workflow_workflow tiles. I sort of deliberately created it with the name workflow A because it's easy to remember, and B because I didn't want to, preempt any of this stuff, and C, I wanted to cause a problem that we had to solve by changing something in the API YAML file. I forgot actually, I wanted to have a quick look again at this XS security thing, just to sort of see it, to stare at it for a couple of seconds. Where is that? Well, it tells us the path is in the current directory, XS security. There it is there. Let's have a look at that. Okay. How many people here, anybody here has already manually instantiated an instance? I don't like saying instantiated an instance, created an instance of the XS UAA service. Most likely you will have provided, let's do it now actually. Is this the, yeah, let's do this, instances, right? If we say new instance of the XS UAA service, right? You'll see this sort of little wizard thing here with a few steps. I'm sure you've seen this before. I'm going to choose the application service plan, which is what we want. Then we'll go through here, and then you will normally provide either a file, a JSON file to upload it, or in the raw here, paste it straight in or type it straight in. You'll provide some JSON, which will configure, or which will tell the XS UAA service how to behave on your behalf, right? So I'm going to cancel that and don't create this service. That is this thing here. And of course, we're not going to do these things manually in the cockpit. We're going to do it through a deployment. So this is the thing that we need. And we'll look at the details of this another time. But basically, this is a regular, almost boilerplate. Every user has this UAA.user scope. And this is basically saying, use this user scope, authenticate the user and get the token back and blah, 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 right? Okay, Helmut, thank you very much for joining, and Pierre as well. Oh my God, it's 8:59. So why don't we stop here rather than try and attempt to deploy this or build it first of all and deploy it. We want to take our time and enjoy that juicy goodness of all that stuff that happens and can and may go wrong. Okay. So yeah, 8:59. I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. It's Friday. Enjoy your beer, Andrew. And do you use Untapped? Check it in. Am I following you on Untapped? And enjoy your wine. Enjoy your coffee. I'm going to get another coffee now. I think you need the chocolate. Yeah. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.